Welcome to your go-to Detroit Pistons podcast, The Pistons Pulse, co-hosted by me, Bryce Simon of Motor City Hoops, a former D1 hooper and current teacher, husband, and father of 3 amazing kids.
And I'm Omari Sanko for the second, Pistons beat writer for the Detroit Free Press.
And of course, we're always blessed to be joined by our producer, Wes Davenport. Wes is not with us. He is on his own vacation, not in Las Vegas right now, but he's enjoying some family time. We do have our guy, Robin Chan, with us, though, in the background, holding everything down.
He got us these mics too, so we have a little bit of a more proper setup here, recording live for the first time, which is nice. I hope the bass in our voices is coming through a little bit cleaner than last year and the year before.
And Robin did tell me to let all of you know, if you're watching live, if you're on YouTube, you are going to hear a little bit of a sound difference. Omari is going to come in one of your earbuds and I'm going to come in your other. Like, I don't understand audio stuff enough to know how to explain that and why it has to be that way. I just know it does have to be that way for us to bring you this quality audio from Vegas in Omari's hotel room, talking about Pistons Summer League. Before we get to that, make sure you are reading all of O2's work over on the Detroit Free Press, supporting everything over there. Make sure over on the Motor City Hoops Substack, you're subscribed. It's very, very free. Costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe to the Substack. I had instant game notes the other day, and Kyle Metz says that I'm in the incorrect ear with the way that we're setting. So sorry if it's confusing if you're trying to watch and then it's coming in different.
I think it's only live. I think once we get this post-processed after the fact, the audio will sound okay. But right now, it's a little bit of a Queen effect. And what is it? Bohemian Rhapsody when the music coming in both ears in the beginning. So I hope that's not too distracting.
Yes. So if you're listening podcast after on Apple, Spotify, whatever, you aren't going to know what we're talking about here. But here live, that is going to be a little bit. Yeah, we could switch mics. I guess that's true. Or we'll just keep it the same because we're in Vegas. We're bringing you a show. So we're going to keep it. Obviously, we love Kyle and we appreciate him very, very much. Before we get into game 1 of Summer League, and we'll talk about other Summer League stuff, O2, because we were up there all day watching games. We do have to talk about a bet was settled, the big bet from the Pistons Pulse, and Omari did pay for my lunch the other day. It was not supper, but that's okay. The listeners, I'm sure, are interested where we chose, what we had, what we thought of the food, O2.
Yeah, we just went, it's called like Cabo Wabo or something like that.
Yeah, right off the strip.
Like right in between our hotels and just Mexican food. Like it's on the strip. So I was trying to find something that we can't do fast food for like a bet, or even like Dave's Hot Chicken, but I'm like nothing gourmet either. So we settled for some, $25 tacos. I got like 3 chicken tacos. They were good. Like they were good tacos. We got some queso, some guac, salsa. Came out to about $8 per taco, but that's Vegas for you. I'm not losing the next bet. I'll say that.
MC313 says, but what did you get? So as O2 was walking to the restaurant, I got there first. I said, hey, let's get some appetizers. We can have salsa, guacamole, or some cheese dip, or we can do all 3. Of course, he said all 3. So that was pretty good. I didn't love the salsa. I think it was homemade salsa. I'm kind of a salsa snob. Didn't love the salsa, but I did love the other stuff. Yes, Omari does repay his best. We appreciate it very much. And then I had some sort of California burrito, something or other. O2 had tacos with a side of very, very hot sun beating down. We actually had to move tables mid-meal because all of a sudden the waiter very kindly came over and was like, hey, you guys want to move? Like that sun is beating down on you.
I was like the only person outside in the sun. Like Bryce picked the one table that had the seat across from him that was like not in the shade or anything else. And I'm just outside baking, but we figured it out. It was good. It was a good time. Then we went to the gym after, obviously we'll talk about, the players and Ron and everything else. But yeah, but this is what, like 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. This is our 5th Summer League.
Yeah.
Right.
So for people who don't know, if you've just joined recently or never heard the story, O2 came and recorded with me when I was still Motor City Hoops and he was doing the beat, and we recorded in my hotel room 4 or 5 years ago. That started the relationship. And then a few months later in October, I just sent him a DM like, hey, any chance you'd want to, link up and like make this like an official thing? He pitched it to the Free Press as I think him joining Motor City Hoops. And they were like, no, like let's take this on. And so obviously this is what we do now. Before we get to the Pistons, I saw somebody on Twitter ask us, what was our best meal overall? So that's where you and I went to eat together. That's the only meal we've had together. I know you've been to some other spots. Is there another spot in Vegas that you like want to give the listeners?
Yeah, I've talked about it on here before. We both went either last year or the year before. It's a Thai spot out here called Lotus of Siam. And like, I love Thai food, but that spot specifically has the best garlic prawns. And like, they are just so good. And every time we come out here, it's become like an annual thing to go to Lotus of Siam and order a bunch of stuff, but especially the prawns. So that's like the one place in Vegas that I make a point to come to whenever I'm out here. It's good food city overall though. Like, I mean, it's like, that's honestly probably my favorite thing about Vegas, other than just being in the gym for Summer League, is the amount of good food here.
Agreed. No, I come to Vegas for the food and the hoops and the people walking around the arena, right? That you run into, the fans and all of that. So me and Randy went to Din Tai Fung our first night here, and that was really, really good. Like, it was awesome. Sam Vecini took me and GMAC, the Game Theory crew, out last night after the games to a spot off Hollywood Boulevard, off the strip, that was a Chinese spot, and it was really, really good. Really good stuff. So, as you said, like, it's expensive, but you can get some really good food here in Vegas. And that is a major perk of it, that I don't love all the other stuff that comes with Vegas, but I do like the food. So, real quick, Michael asked, and then we'll get to some Pistons Summer League conversation, because there's some really good stuff to talk about after yesterday's game. Michael asked, Omari, do you have local Detroit Thai food recommendations? Seems like too many have closed.
Yeah, my favorite spot in the actual city is Bai Mai Thai, which is like Lafayette Park area, not too far from downtown, like maybe like a mile. I mean, not even a mile from Greektown, honestly. And I think it's just the best quality to value ratio, like, that you can find anywhere. Like, you can get like a big thing of, drunken noodles or, pad thai or whatever you want, fried rice, and it's going to be a good, 2 or 3 servings for, like $12 or $13 or whatever, which, I mean, especially post inflation, like, that's as good as it gets. But the food there is just amazing. Like, I only ever see one lady working there, and I don't know if I hope she has a chef in the background, because I just always see her, being the main person handling everything. But, yeah, small operation, great spot. Like, that's really the only recommendation I have. There's some spots out in the suburbs, but that's my go-to spot.
Yeah, DB says Omari in the left, Bryce in the right. So again, if you're joining us late and you're here live, you're going to hear us just in one ear, one of us in one in the other. That's just how the setup is right now. If you're listening after the fact, that won't be a thing. Let's talk about the Pistons Summer League action yesterday, O2, because it was a fun game. I always try to kind of pinch myself and remind myself I get to watch NBA basketball from essentially courtside there in media. And I like being in Cox Pavilion because it's a little bit smaller. It's not as big of an arena and all of that. You get a little bit closer. So, really enjoyed that game yesterday. Any overall thoughts before we get into specific players? I know who I want to start with, but is there anything you want to talk about in general from the team, the win, the performance before? I think we probably need to lead off with Ron Holland.
Definitely got to lead off with Ron Holland. No, I would just say, I was just happy that they were at Cox Pavilion. Since they've always had top 5 picks, they're always in the big arena, the Thomas and Mack Center, and that's the one on TV where it looks like a college arena. I mean, it is a college arena. Whereas Cox is just a lot more intimate. I kind of like that. I feel like it's easier to actually kind of focus on the game and watch the game. And Tayshaun was sitting courtside, beforehand because the Grizzlies were on there. So. I just like the vibe of that gym, and we can go into transition to talking about Ron Holland, because I think it's probably fair to say that he might officially be in the too good for Vegas category. I don't know if he plays Sunday, and I don't know if this is going to post before or after the game Sunday. So, depending on when you're listening to this, that question will be resolved. But I mean, Ron was just phenomenal, obviously.
Yeah, we need to talk to the No Ceilings guys. I open my Twitter every day and they have their too good for Summer League list and all of that. And Ron Holland has not made that list yet. So I gotta text my guys at No Ceilings O2 and make sure they get on top of that. I also want to mention before we get into Ron, it was really cool that they showed up late, but the Pistons rolled in very deep yesterday with like the whole crew essentially, including new addition Duncan Robinson, but K, J.I., Sasser, Stu, all of that. It was
everybody except Karras. Maybe he had a pre-scheduled vacation somewhere, but the rest of the team, the entire team, like you had 3 guys on the main roster on the floor, and then you had 10 guys. You had 9 guys sitting right behind the basket. So just to get that level of participation, especially in a year like this where you probably don't have the same excitement, just not having a lottery pick, just shows that the vibes for this team are still pretty good.
Yeah, I always like watching those guys walk in. Like Stu had his child with him, was like holding his kid, and he said, "What's up?" I always appreciate Isaiah Stewart. He always seems like he recognizes people, and definitely you get recognized by all of, but like people in my space, talking about the Pistons, seems like he always recognizes and says what's up and all of that. I also saw Rodney Magruder and Corey Joseph. I know they're former Detroit Pistons, but they had walked through at one point. Magruder is a guy that I kind of have a loose connection to that I've talked to a couple times. He had his family with him. So point being, it's kind of cool to see those guys in their like, non-basketball environment, right? Like it's a reminder that they're real people that have real families and kids and all of those stuff. So, all right, Ron Holland, what was your biggest takeaway, O2? Because we've said here going, hey, No Ceilings, put him on the too good for summer league list, talking about like, hey, we've probably seen what we need to see. What were some of those things yesterday that we saw from Ron Holland that make us go like, 1, this is exciting, and 2, I don't know that we need to see him anymore?
It was really just kind of everything. I mean, with Ron, obviously, he has the confidence and the relentlessness that he was going to go out there and really try to assert himself. But it seems like pretty much from the jump, he had he was very intentional in what he was trying to do, whether it was just from a playmaking standpoint or the, defensive plays. He didn't really look out of control, at any point like that. But that's what stood out to me. Like, I thought he played with a lot of maturity, a lot of poise. Obviously, he went 4 or 5 from 3. I mean, we don't have to talk about how good that is, but he came in and he looked like the experienced guy. I think that was just the main thing. Like, he's just turned 20, I think like 5 days ago, but just to come in and it's like, I did this last year. I got 81 games under my belt. I'm too good for this. Like, that was just the exact energy he came in with. And that's essentially what you want to see for a guy, in his situation.
Yeah, I agree. O2, Bobby Bucket said, need y'all in a casino for next pod. I don't think you'll catch either of us in a casino.
Not big gamblers.
I think we try to avoid those as much as possible. Yes. So apparently this is very funny for people. So when you look at us, where one of you is on or your left, one on the right, and then we're opposite in your headphones. So again, guys, just a little bit of a different situation here for us. How much does the summer league shooting translate? Yeah, that's a big thing. My thing with it, O2, is I think we've said this from the start with Ron's form, and you have an article about this right now, and you can speak on it a little bit better than me. Not a little bit, definitely better than me. I've always thought the mechanics looked okay, especially the arm mechanics of things. The follow through, it's like, man, that looks like it should go in more than what it is. But I know you had an article, you had a chance to talk to Ron recently. What did he talk about with his jumper that had to do with the lower half of his body, not as much the mechanics up top?
Yeah, I was able to catch up with Ron, thankfully, Thursday. So if you haven't seen that on freep.com, go ahead and check it out. But, he just talked about the lower body, like, just from a physical standpoint, a lot of his focus this offseason has just been like lower body, accelerating, deaccelerating, stopping on a dime, but also just, from a shooting standpoint, just his base, like, making sure his feet are landing properly, generating enough power in the shot, obviously the balance aspect that comes into it. He said the focus has really been there. I mean, like you said, Bryce, the form itself is fine. I mean, he gets it off clean. It's like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the consistency. So I thought that was interesting that he was just like, yeah, it's just like a lot of lower body stuff, essentially. Cause to me, again, like he went 4 or 5 from 3. So to me, that says they identify just like, smaller stuff that he can just correct. And, and essentially get down, but it didn't take a reinvention or anything like that. It's just smaller tweaks.
Yeah, Bobby Buckets brings up a great point here. They even ran a play for a movement three for Ron last night, and he drilled it. I believe that was after a timeout. They ran a baseline action for him coming inside out. That's not easy action to get your feet set, to balance the things you're talking about with your footwork. What I liked about, I can vividly remember 3 of his 3-point makes, and they were all different. One was a catch and shoot, one was the step back, and then the one is the one that Bobby just brought up there.
And the step back was like a step back. Like he was like, it was like he was clearly like he knew what he wanted to do, and he just worked his way all the way back to that back corner. I don't know if he had taken a single shot like that last season. Like I can't recall any threes like that.
Real quick, his just stat line here for those that didn't get to watch the game or don't know, but 28 points for Ron Holland on 8 of 12 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3, got to the free throw line 13 times. Like you talk about versatility of scoring.
Yeah, 8 of 13 at the line.
8 of 13. He also had 11 rebounds, 3 offensive, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 4 turnovers, 4 fouls. The stat I want to look at, you touched on at the very top whenever we started talking about him, O2, is the passing. I do not think that those 2 assists speak to what his passing was last night or yesterday afternoon for us. His first 3 passes, I believe, were either fumbled or they missed the shot or whatever. I think the impressiveness of his passing goes way beyond 2 assists and 4 turnovers that the box score would say.
Yeah, like he honestly could have had maybe like 4 assists just in the first quarter, and they just weren't quite in sync yet. Took them, I mean, even though they opened with like a 16-2 lead, they just had a couple miscues in there early, but like clearly, like it just seemed like he had a clear process in his head of if I get downhill and that, dump off passes there or whatever, like, definitely take that. You can imagine, him with Jalen Duren or whoever out there and just the easy opportunities that would create. And like just good passes, right? Like nothing crazy, nothing like, super out there, but like if you're a winger, you're going to have the ball. Those are the types of reads you want them to be able to make. And that's just kind of what I talk about, where he had that presence coming in of like, this is what I'm going to do. And just the maturity aspect of his game. I thought the playmaking, there was an intentionality there that we didn't see as often last season.
Yeah, decision making was really good, I thought, from Ron throughout the game in terms of when do I score, when do I pass. Obviously, when you make shots, it looks good. When you get to the free throw, he looked, I don't want to overstate it, but he looked like what you would want a second-year player to look like in Summer League. Like, I will give people an example. My notes say, like, Marshawn Beauchamp is like a third-year player or fourth-year player in Summer League and didn't look like an NBA player. Like, didn't look like a guy that stood out. That is concerning. I think that's my biggest thing from Summer League a lot of times is there something concerning with the way they played? If Ron went out and wasn't able to make good decisions or wasn't able to pressure the paint consistently over and over and over, I'd be going, man, like, I wish we at least would have saw that. And not only did we see that, but we saw even more. Comment here from Michael. Hi guys. Greetings from Poland, 8 p.m. over in Poland. I love that people just let us know what time it is, where they are at. And then Steven Suggs, his confidence was so high. Like, that is one thing about Ron. That is one reason why I believe in the jumper, even beyond the form and the mechanics, O2. So much about making shots at every level, truly, but especially the NBA, is confidence. And Ron has as much as you need to be a good 3-point shooter. And so I was not surprised to see that confidence and that aggressiveness from him yesterday.
Yeah. And Ron's funny. I mean, since the start, he's always talked about just how confident he is in that shot. Like, I'm talking to him Thursday, and he's like, I've been working on that jumper. Come on now. Like, he takes it seriously. I mean, he was in the gym with, Fred Vincent, and they were getting up shot after shot after shot. And even just going back to like the lower body stuff, I like that he kind of talked about decel, accelerate, stuff like that. I feel like we didn't see it as much. Like, I feel like a lot of his, non-threes were like, just like transition buckets for the most part. It wasn't as much of him like, getting to the rim and finishing to right or left or anything like that. But he already had that down. And he was also like really good from mid-range last season. And he didn't take a lot of mid-range jumpers, but but you just see the progression for him, where if he could start knocking down 1 out of every third 3-pointer, like now you're talking about, a guy who essentially is, a freight train getting downhill and can make those passes. So you just see, like, you see his game coming together. And that's the main thing for me. It's tough to judge what's real and what's not in Summer League sometimes, but like process stuff like that to me sticks out. Like, yeah, like next season, he's going to be able to do this, that, and the other. And this is all translatable stuff.
definitely not the same players, but it's a lot of the same conversation we had about Jay Ivey, right? Like Jay Ivey can pressure the rim, and if people respect the catch and shoot jumper enough to close out hard to him, they're going to struggle then to stay with him whenever he attacks a closeout. Kyle Metz brings up an interesting point. I'd like to see him play some more to get more reps at making those reads after getting the paint touch. I don't disagree. I think for me, I would love to see him play on Sunday to see if he can replicate what we saw. And I think that's kind of what Kyle's saying here. Sometimes you see guys have this kind of performance and then they start overthinking things, or they don't make those decisions. They predetermine reads. So I would really love to see, him respond to a tremendous performance and see if he was able to replicate it. And then Kyle also says it's 2 p.m. in Virginia, by the way. Yes, we can do that math with the time changes on that one, Kyle, but we appreciate it. Anything else on Ron before we go to break? And then I think we got to give Dennis and Bobby and those guys their due credit here as well. If you guys have any questions, we are able to star the chat over here on the side. So if you have anything that's not directly related to the players we're talking about in this moment, we'll probably get to some of those questions at the end of the episode. But otherwise, we'll go to break right now. When we come back, we'll let O2 start us off with either Dennis Jenkins, Bobby Klintman, Tolu Smith, or any other player.
All right, segment 2 time. Let's go ahead and talk about Bobby. I think he's probably the guy that always sticks out. Since last summer league, obviously, but it just seems like whenever he gets that type of opportunity, he does the same stuff every single time. And I'll let you lead off, but what stuck out most, about him last night? Because I thought, other than Ron, especially early, it was them and then Dennis, it really making things happen, especially from a playmaking standpoint.
Yeah, I think if I had to rank my most impressive Pistons players yesterday, I think Ron would obviously be one. I think Dennis was probably number 2 for me, O2, just in terms of that single game performance. I'm not saying all of a sudden I think Dennis is more of an NBA player than Bobby Klintman. That's not what I'm saying. Just in terms of that performance, I thought Bobby continues to show the passing chops, man. It's a real thing. It's something I missed as an evaluator. Sam was really high on his passing. I was a little bit more unsure.
Well, he averaged fewer than an assist per game in Australia and when he was at Wake Forest. So, just looking at his numbers, you probably wouldn't even think that that's something that's going to stick out, especially since he averaged I think in both stops more than twice as many turnovers as assists. So that's not something that necessarily would pop out. But every time he's appeared in any sort of NBA scenario, that's just this dude's a passer. He sees the entire floor. He had that behind the back dish to toe. He's doing real playmaking stuff. It's not a fluke. That's probably, that might be the best part of his game right now, to be honest.
I think I probably agree. If you ask me, what is his most plus skill for the role and the position he plays in? I think that's probably right. Where I'm honestly struggling a little bit, and I don't want to come off negative after they, have an 18-point win and a really nice performance, is what is that value then, right? If you put him on the court, if he's one of the 10-man rotation, if he's the backup 4 or whatever that is sometimes discussed with this team, what does that passing provide? Is that enough of something to provide to the team in those minutes, or does it come down to some of the other skills, right? It's a very intriguing skill set. And I love, you can never have too many ball movers and passers and all of that. But I came away a little bit concerned with a couple other things. Specifically, I feel like when he attacked off the bounce and got into the lane, he looked a little bit uncomfortable and wasn't super successful with some of those. And then obviously the 3-point shooting as well. So while the passing is a lot of fun and it's real and it's exciting, I do find myself, when evaluating him, O2, as a true rotation piece, right? And if he doesn't end up a true rotation piece, that's okay, right? He was a 2nd-round pick. But as a true rotation piece, I find myself a little bit more locked in on the shot making and even the defense.
Yeah. The thing with Bobby, and, you talk about what's it going to take for him to really be that type of rotation guy. Yeah, other than the passing, it is what's the other skill that he's going to be able to show, or the other skills that he's going to be able to show that will keep him on the floor. He's big. He's a legit 6'10". He's to me, like the size of like a lot of centers. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be like, you could put the ball in his hands and he can like get downhill and create this and that. For him, it's like just a lot of like connective tissue type passing. Like, I feel like every game he's played, he's had at least one touch pass where he just generates an open three because he knew the guy was there. He did that with Trevor Kills last night. Yeah, defensively, I think it's going to be very like matchup dependent. If there's like some smaller, more mobile fours, I'm curious to see how he would handle those, as compared to like, maybe some bigger guys. But I also feel like just with his size and like his strength, like there are some matchups that might work for him too. Like, I wonder if you could put him on a guy like a Randall and he could handle it for like 5 to 10 minutes or here and there. What did you think of his shooting? Because he didn't knock down a lot of shots. But that was one area that I think a lot of people, are going to focus on with him too. Like, can he actually space the floor? Look at some of the backup fours that are out there. Pistons obviously could use some help there. I just thought a guy like, a Trey Lyles, I don't know. Like if you could just shoot like 34% from three, like I don't think you necessarily need to be like a marksman. You just got to be able to step in and provide some size, some rebounding. I like his rebounding. And then, yeah, obviously that aspect too.
Yeah. So I think that's where I'm at with Bobby is the shooting. Last year in the G, it wasn't great. He played 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Under 30% he did get 4.5 attempts. The rebounding was there. He had the assist numbers, all of that. Like, I don't even think I question the passing anymore. Like, it's not even something, I don't want to like go past it, but it's just like, yeah, he's a really good passer. There's no denying it. There's no questioning it. Like, it definitely is. I think he can probably attack a closeout in a straight line. Again, I was a little nervous with how he tried to finish in some of those situations. But for me, in the role that he's going to play, I really do think knocking down catch and shoot opportunities, especially out of the corner. Like, Bobby Klintman is a corner basketball player in the NBA. I know for Pistons fans, they don't always love the idea of that, but he needs to be able to play in the weak side corner, catch and shoot whenever there's a skip pass, attack the closeout, make the one more, all of that. The biggest skill of that I'm like, I really want to see this a little bit more is probably the shooting aspect of it. So Mr. RK says, is Trajan evaluating Bobby for backup 4 right now? Like, I would guess so, right? Like, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, like, listen, summer league basketball isn't great basketball. Like, there's some really bad games yesterday. The one immediately after the Pistons was even worse. Like, that game was dreadful. But I think for specific players, there are things that are very important. There's guys that are fighting for roster spots, two-way opportunities, etc. I think Bobby probably is getting evaluated right now. Like, are you going to be capable to be a rotation piece for us to start the year? Or as Downtown Deuce says, maybe it's, backup 4 by season's end, right? Like, taking in the Fontecchio minutes, capable, Tobias mentoring, all of that. And he says, great, keep up the great work, fellas. Thank you, Downtown Deuce. You as well, right? Like, Downtown Deuce does a lot of great work. I think that's the evaluation right now. Is he ready right now whenever the training camp starts, or do we need to bring in somebody else to hold down those minutes because we're not sure if he's ready too? Yeah.
And I think the other thing about readiness too is that when you're talking about backup 4s, more often than not, you're only checking so many boxes as well. Like Simone, like obviously he didn't shoot the ball super well last season, but he still gave you some rebounding. He still gave you some defense. So with Bobby, it's like, yeah, I mean, can you just come in for like 10 to 15 minutes and give us something, right? And I mean, he is being evaluated for backup 4. I mean, that's his position. There's obviously a clear need for it on the roster. And my parents are at a wedding right now, but I guess they're still sneaking in.
That's commitment right there.
Appreciate you, Pops. Yeah, we will just have to like see. Like, it comes down to Bobby, obviously, and if he can knock down shots and this and that. But he's got a year of G League experience under his belt. He's had a year in the system. And again, like, I think just the intrigue of having him on the floor with other plus passers, like you could go him during, like if he's shooting the ball, like a star, like you could have passing pretty much at every position, so I like that. Like, he might be a more offensive minded four in that system, but I think it could work if you're just, looking at him being able to feel like a Fontecchio type role like last season.
Well, and I saw somebody today talking about there was the PJ Washington conversation came up, and it's like, okay, well, then where do all the minutes go? And I think that's where maybe Bobby Klintman makes a ton of sense is, okay, maybe we need a guy that's only going to play 8 or 10 minutes in our 10-man rotation, right? Or, then whenever we're healthy, or if we're not healthy, then maybe he plays more. I'm cool with him even starting the season. Like, everybody's talking about earning him by the end of the season, which I understand, but I'm almost would rather do it the other way. Like, give him give him the backup 4 minutes to start the season. And again, I think to start the season, if healthy, that's only 8 to 12 minutes whenever you figure the other 9 guys in the rotation, Asar minutes at the 4, potentially Ron minutes at the 4. But because then what you give yourself is a runway, to the trade deadline and that trade exception that they just created, right? With the Dennis Schroeder deal where, we're really in the playoff and Bobby's not really ready. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just living in this world. Bobby's not ready. Okay, now let's go make this move for this backup 4 because he wasn't ready to do it. So I'm almost more of, hey, let's let him take on that role to start the season as opposed to throughout the season.
Yeah, and especially when you look at the free agent, backup 4s out there now, I don't know if any of them are significantly better players than what we've seen from Bobby so far. So I agree with you, Bryce, where you can kind of come into the season and say, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity, and you can always adjust as needed from there. But just the way that this roster is built, that's probably the only area of concern. So you can probably get away with, we can use some combination of Ron and Asar and, some other things to, handle that 4 position. And if you got to go get sleepers optional missions, like a PJ Washington or somebody, you have that optionality. That's what they talk about. Really, it's just the optionality of it. But yeah, to me, the cost of just seeing if Bobby can give you 10 to 15 minutes, I think the upside there at the beginning of the season will be worthwhile because you want him by the end of the season to be comfortable. I don't think you want to wait till the end of the season to start getting him those reps.
Yeah, Keith Black Trudeau brings up a good point. I think you need one more reliable rotation guy simply because injuries happen. You can't go with 9 players. The one, I agree with that. I'm cool with that. Again, you have to find players that are willing to accept that. The one thing I would say is whenever I say 9 players, that's not counting Marcus Sasser or Paul Reed. So depending on how you feel about those guys, and it depends on where the injuries happen, but there is some of that, as well. I want to keep moving on because there were some other players I thought played really well yesterday. I would like to start with Dennis Jenkins. I thought Dennis Jenkins was really good yesterday. We talk about shooting, and maybe this is where we need to talk about Fred Vincent because, this is why we were all so excited whenever Trajan brought him to Detroit. And we're talking about a few different guys now with the shooting, especially with the improvement of Ron's. I thought Dennis Jenkins' jumper looked very good yesterday. We know he's a guy that will defend at the point of attack. I don't want to say limitations, but lack of versatility because of his size. And then he also can just run the offense. His stat line yesterday in 22 minutes was 18 points on 7-11, 3 of 5 from 3, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, 1 turnovers. I thought Dennis Jenkins looked really good yesterday, for summer league action.
Yeah, I thought he looked good too. He was pretty solid with the Motor City Cruise last season. The only, I wouldn't even say it was a weakness. It was just he could be more consistent knocking down shots, I think was an area of growth for him. And he came out aggressive. I mean, I think he was their leading scorer at halftime with 13 points before Ron kind of took over in the third quarter. I think he had 18 in the third. But yeah, Dennis came out and he was aggressive. He picked his spots. He had something to say to the Knicks bench every time he knocked a jumper down. But you just talk about that confidence. And he definitely came in with a lot of confidence and, again, a sense of purpose and what he wanted to go out there and accomplish.
Yeah, so Mr. Ray says, could he compete with Sasser for minutes at some point? I view those guys as completely different players. I understand the question though, because there's just no way you can play both of those guys at that height together. But yeah, maybe it's dependent on what they need, right? Do they feel like they need a true on-ball guy, in Jenkins that can run the team a little bit more? Maybe that's where he can, get on the floor. If they need a little bit more of the spark plug offense, then it's Sasser. What I don't want to get over the top with Jenkins right now, O2. What I wrote in my notes for the Substack essentially was, this is your perfect two-way G League point guard, right? Like these are the type of players I think every organization should be valuing, because you have a guy like Jenkins down there and he's going to help everybody else on your team at the G League level do their job the right way. He's going to create for other people. He's going to guard at the point of attack. So when there's a ball screen action, he's going to navigate the ball screen, which is going to give your big man that you're trying to develop down there a chance to see what it really looks like. He's going to create opportunities for a Chaz Lanier, right? And so, and it just seems, I loved his energy. Like I loved the trash. It was the very first three. He said something to him. One time he got to the rim and like had a reverse finish and he just screamed like, "Oh my gosh," because he was just like, he's constantly and consistently talking trash. And I absolutely loved it.
He was having fun out there. The whole group was having fun. They like the Pistons brought the energy, I thought, to that game last night. And yeah, I agree. Like I see Sass and Jenkins as like different players. I don't know if they are necessarily in competition with each other, but I do like I think Dan is like, he's on the perfect row with the Crews. Obviously was a two-way guy for him last year. He's a table setter. I think he's got great leadership qualities and, like the guys really respect him. And if it ever gets to the point where he could give you real NBA minutes, then I mean, like obviously that would be great. But I don't think the Pistons are looking at it like, we're going to be leaning on, we're going to put Dennis Jenkins in the position where he has to be like a potential, third point guard next season. I don't think it's going to be anything like that.
Yeah, I think like him and Klintman, I would view as different situations with that. Like, I don't know if the Pistons, Trajan, are going to think that Bobby Klintman is the backup four, but I could see them counting on him to be a rotation option at the very least, right? Like he's our 12th guy that I think Dennis still is probably in the situation where like he's just a great person to have in the organization that fills that role perfectly with his skill set and what he likes to do. I definitely wanted to get to him here early because I thought he played really well. I thought he had a very, very good game. We have a couple more guys we need to get to also. Again, guys, get any questions you have into the chat. We'll star those. Doesn't even have to be about the game yesterday. We're obviously going to talk through all of that. We'll talk a little bit about anybody from the Knicks that stood out in any sort of positive or negative way, and anybody else around as other games that we have watched. But before we do that, we have a few more players for Detroit we definitely need to talk about. I want to talk about Tolu Smith. Obviously, I'm bearing, the Chaz Lanier conversation just a little bit. That's on purpose here. Tolu, I thought, had an interesting game. He is very explosive. Like he showed us some real like vertical pop on the defensive end, had some nice finishes. Then he went into the third quarter, had some rough misses, did a little bit off the bounce. I don't think Tolu Smith is an NBA player. Like I didn't watch that game and go, "Oh, that's an NBA guy." Like they don't need Paul Reed. But I think that he was like, again, like great G League guy, looks good for summer league. I thought he had a really solid game.
Yeah, he's just solid. Like, he's like solid 6'10", 6'11", like solid build, good touch around the rim, good rebounder. Like, so it was a guy like, again, like when he's gotten those opportunities, like he just kind of checks those big man boxes and does that key stuff. Yeah, I like his game. I thought he had some nice moments. He's a guy that, I think could really kind of stand to gain a lot just from this whole process if he can continue to sustain that energy on both ends. But he's got a nice game. Like, I think, and I think he has good chemistry with Dennis too. Like, like both those guys. Tolu had 16 points, but 11 rebounds?
So stat line real quick, 16 points for Tolu on 6 of 13 from the field, 4 of 7 from the free throw line, 11 rebounds, including 6 offensive, a steal, a couple blocks, 3 turnovers. Again, I thought an all around. And here's the thing that the Knicks bigs, and again, we don't have to get into them a lot, but like they started, Ariel Hookporty, who some Knicks fans think maybe, could be a guy that gives, the Knicks some minutes and, as a third center.
He was a draft pick, right?
Yeah. So like, he played, quite a few minutes against him, James Najee, who's a former, draft pick as well. So it wasn't like it just an awful, in terms of name recognition at the big man spot from I don't think that Knicks Summer League team is very good, quite honestly. But, just in terms of his direct matchups, especially Hookporty, that's a pretty good performance from Tolu.
Yeah, no, Tolu's solid. I think, I don't know necessarily what his path is, but for him, it's just everything, right? Like just continue to set good screens, continue to show that touch at the rim, continue to rebound, 6 offensive rebounds. Like that's big. And, like he definitely outplayed the Knicks bigs last night. I thought he was a really big reason why the Pistons kind of got off to a dominant start and like never really looked back.
So real quick before we get to Chaz, and we'll save Chaz to start segment 3 here. Off the bench, we had Trevor Keels with 6 points, hit a couple threes, good looking threes. Miller Kopp hit a 3. Zakai Ziegler, teammate of Chaz Lanier, really got after it defensively. Dawson Garcia, John Ukamadu. That is one that I did not practice before we recorded today. Any of those guys that stood out in any sort of positive way or in any way at all?
Yeah, I thought Keels had a couple nice plays with Bobby early. Like that touch pass I was talking about. I think it was Dennis kind of hit him. I forget who, like somebody got hit in the corner of like a nice kind of like skip pass, hit Bobby. Bobby immediately found Trevor Keels and ended up being a wide open 3. And then the next possession, you're able to kind of locate Keels going downhill. I kind of like Trevor Keels in college just as a guy that could, come in like Wayne Selden. Like I kind of compared him like a Wayne Selden type. Like if he could come in and knock down shots and give you solid defense, he would be good. I thought he had some nice moments. Those guys will definitely get more opportunity as Summer League goes on and, guys like Ron get phased out, but there were some nice moments there.
Yeah, I think the one in that didn't play yesterday that I think will probably get minutes eventually is Bryce Williams. So, as we talk about names and like you say, that some of these guys are going to get more minutes, more opportunities as for sure at some point Ron Holland will not be playing throughout the entirety of Summer League. Let's go to break right here. When we come back, we still got to talk about this year's draft pick, Chaz Lanier. We will talk about him. And then again, any questions you guys have, put them in the chat. Can be Summer League, Pistons, whatever. Go ahead and throw those in there and we'll close it out with those. But when we come back, we're going to talk the pick number 37 from the 2025 draft.
All right. We are back with segment 3 here. We're going to talk about Chaz Lanier, to kind of close out our game 1 coverage. A little bit of a quiet game. Got a couple threes to fall. He had 4 assists, which I thought was nice, but a little bit of a quieter Summer League debut, which is fine. No big deal. What stood out about Chaz to you?
Yeah, I think I agree. I found it a little bit interesting. It seemed like early in the game, he was trying to do stuff with the ball in his hands a lot, which I found interesting. I thought, whether that was just kind of the way it worked out. I'm sure they were probably trying to prioritize Ron and Bobby a little bit more than Lanier, which is fine. Like I'm cool with it. It just didn't seem like there was anything designed to get him going, right? To get some off-ball looks. It didn't seem like he was employed in that way. And that, again, that's okay. It's his first Summer League game. I'm not trying to take shots at the staff or anything. It just was interesting to me. And then he did finally get a good look. He knocked it down. He missed a couple others. I'm not overly worried about it. I think what this is a reminder of with a guy like Chaz, it really comes down to making shots. And if he doesn't make shots, O2, you're probably not going to feel his presence a whole lot. And so that is kind of the give and take, or the narrow window for Lanier is he's got to find himself involved in the offense. The ball has to find him. And then when it does, he's got to knock down shots. The one thing I'll say is you were able to see how quickly he gets his jumper off. Like in some of those attempts, even though he missed them, you saw how quickly that ball got in and out of his hands. I didn't notice him defensively a lot. This is the one reason I don't like watching games in person, is I don't feel like I'm able to break them down and analyze them to the way I would want. There were a couple times I think it was his fault with some off the ball defensive mistakes, but in general, I didn't notice it a ton. I kind of need to go back and watch some more to really focus in on him and see how many mistakes there were or were not.
Yeah. Steven Suggs says, I'm not surprised Chaz had a quiet game because he started with 4 one-year players. Ron is, but point taken. I would say another thing with Chaz, a guy who very much is a rhythm shooter. Summer League can just be such a chaotic environment that I also think sometimes guys could just come in and they're just not comfortable, and to me, it was just very much a first Summer League with a bunch of guys you haven't played with before. And, there's essentially like everybody else had been in the Pistons system. I mean, you're talking about, Bron and like guys who had all been in that G League system, and then Chaz is coming in and like he's still picking things up, right? Yeah, like somebody asked earlier, like, is there any cause of, worry or concern after that first game? No, like that game to me, like it just really felt like it was just the first summer league game. And, it takes time to get that chemistry and that rhythm down. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all if, by the end of it, he has a couple 15, 20-point games and shoots it well. Like we'll see how it progresses. But, when good shooters come into the summer league and don't shoot it that well, typically to me, it just kind of means nothing.
Yeah. I'm not worried about it. Like, I think we can believe in his body of work over how many ever years of college, a little bit more with his shooting in particular than one summer league game. So I'm not worried about it. Again, it was a little bit interesting. I will be fascinated to see if moving forward, there is some intentionality to get him some clean looks. In, like an after timeout situation, they run the action for Ron Holland to get the corner three, not Chaz Lanier. In game 4 and 5 of Summer League, are those looks going to Chaz after every timeout to start games? And then what does he look like in those situations? And again, I think it's more important, like, what does he look defensively? Cause listen, if he doesn't make shots, he has no chance of helping out this team. So you just got to bank that what we saw for 5 years in college is who he is as a shooter. And then is he going to be able to hold up defensively enough for that even to be an impact? So I'm not worried about it. It would have been great to see it a little bit better, but it is what it is. A couple housekeeping questions here real quick, O2, and then I want to ask you about the Knicks, some other summer league stuff. Do you think, RK, I know you touched on it a little bit, but we have some late viewers here. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We know it's like middle of the day on Saturday. This is kind of just how it works in Vegas. We're trying to record. So honestly, so we can go watch Cooper Flagg play Dylan Harper here in about an hour and a half. So thank you for joining us on a random Saturday afternoon. But do you think Ron will play the next game?
I think there's a good chance we see Ron. I can see it being a deal where maybe he doesn't play in the second half, but in recent years, it seems like there's been a little bit more of a trend of, second year guys coming in and playing a couple games. Jabari Smith played a couple games last year.
I remember him cooking Detroit one of those
he was like Kevin Durant
and Thomas and Mack, and he was telling everybody about it.
Man, I thought Jabari was going to come out and be a monster last season after I saw that. I still think he's going to be really, really good. But we have another question here.
From Kirk. One of the announcers said Trevor Kills was signed to a 2-way. Clarification on that.
Yeah. I didn't realize the announcer said that. Just being in the arena, obviously. I haven't heard any reporting that he was on a 2-way. It could have been a misspoke. Like, I'll go and double check. But, I know when it comes to Summer League, like, they tend to misspeak sometimes just because there's so many guys that, you haven't even had to think about until that day. So, like, Danis Tolu, those were the guys last season with, Ron Harper Jr. So.
Real quick, Kurt Leader says, my man Dawson Garcia playing with the Pistons in Summer League. Go Gophers. This is one of my fellow colleagues at my school. So he's not a Pistons fan, but he's a fan of NBA sports in general. He's a Timberwolves fan, actually. They got a big one tonight, Kurt. They play the Nuggets, my guy Deron Holmes. So that'll be a fun one. But a couple weeks ago, he was like, I tuned in for a little bit. And he's like, I was going to comment. I was like, no, comment. We'll pull it up. So hopefully he's having a good summer. It's winding down fast. Him and I will be back to teaching school and around kids very, very soon.
Do you get excited? Like, is it like when you get close to school, is it like excitement or is it like, man, I'm about to be in the classroom?
I don't dread it, but like I do. There's a sense of less stress because of everything I do where I don't have that on my plate also. But I also like, that's where I make most of my money. The majority of my money is being a teacher, and I do have a lot of passion about what I do. So I don't dread it. It's the change of the routine, right? Like I can go to Vegas for a week because it's the summer right now. I can't do that as much. RK says Bryce is legit 6'8". I saw the picture. I'm not 6'8". Sam is just very short, but I am a legit 6'6" in shoes. I was reading the comments to Randy this morning, on that picture. So if you guys are on Twitter, GMAC, Andrew Claudio tweeted out me, him, and those guys. As Kurt says, not bad, ready for the routine again. So, and there were so many comments like, man, Bryce is a giant. Bryce is so tall. Bryce is this. And I was like, guys, I don't feel like I hide the fact that I'm fairly tall, but this is all people see of us is from our, chest up. So I guess I understand.
Yeah, it could catch people off guard a little bit. And you also like, some people like just have an appearance where they just like look like they're tall.
Sure.
And you look like you could be anywhere between like 6'2" and like 6'6", like there's like a range. So, and you might be 6'7", man. I don't know. Like I'm I'm around 6'6" dudes all day. Like I feel like you might have an inch on K, man. I don't know.
It's interesting because most of my life, I am like around people that are shorter than me, and then I come to summer league, and there's all of these NBA people and personnel that are, a lot of NBA personnel are taller people because they're people that used to play or played overseas or whatever. And so it's like the one scenario in my life where like the Nuggets were the Nuggets were actually on our flights. And we were around them or whatever. And that's what Randy made the comment, like, man, those guys kind of make you look small, which she's not used to seeing me around people that make me look small. So
I always think about that. Like NBA guys, like they're so tall, but like, I wonder how often they think about that, right? Like you go on the floor and it's guys that make you look tiny. I think about that whenever I see guys go against Wemby. Like, like you're like a 7-foot dude. You're the tallest person in every room almost you've ever been in, and then you see this dude that makes you look small. Like that's got to be surreal.
It is. I feel like I get looks walking around out here because people I think would probably assume I'm not quite old enough. I'm getting really close to being way too old to actually be a player, but I think people just see people my height and then anybody that height might be a player. So all right.
All sports writers are like shorter too. Yeah. Like I was gonna say, like I might be a little bit taller than Sam and some of the other people you record.
Especially the Pistons. No, Rocco Zikarsky is massive. Like he did make people look small. Anybody from the Knicks, that you were impressed with yesterday? I thought Kevin McCullough looked decent. Kolek had a good game. I don't know that he looked like an NBA player.
He had like 8 assists.
Yeah.
Like, he kept their offense moving. Like the Knicks, I just thought the Knicks looked pretty bad. Like, I don't know if it was anybody over there that like really, really stood out. The players I was familiar with, like Pacome Daddier, like that was a name I'm familiar with since they drafted him a year or two ago. But to be quite frank, like I would have to go back and watch that game to see if any Knicks stood out. That was just not a good summer league performance by them.
They were not. I didn't think Beauchamp looked like an NBA player. So I asked GMAC what he thought, and he said half the fan base was like, it's just summer league, and then half the fan base was worried about it. Not a great performance. Let's talk about a few other real quick. We didn't get a whole lot of questions, so let's talk summer league here to finish it up, and then I know we both got to get on with our day. Did you get to see Hansen Yang, or Yang Hansen? I think is how you're supposed to say it. I don't want to be disrespectful to him. Did you see any of that yesterday? I actually got to watch it live.
Yeah, I didn't watch it live, but like, I saw the highlights and stuff on social media, obviously after, and everybody was just freaking out over some of the passes he threw. And, he was like one of the guys I was most intrigued by in the draft, just because he was slated to be like kind of like a 40 through 60 type guy. And obviously, it was surprising when he went as high as he did, but, he's a fun player. Like, I don't know how it'll translate, just because I don't know how to contextualize the league he played in versus, like the NBA, but he's a fun player. Like they keep calling him Chinese Jokic, which is funny. And, like it's like players like him that make summer league kind of fun, because it's like, I don't know if this is going to work in the league, but it's working in this environment, and it's pretty fascinating. Just watching him live, like what like stood out about him.
No, I agree. And like, listen, that gym would have been empty if he was not playing, because it wasn't very full anyway at that point. And everybody that was there was watching Hansen Yang, or Yang Hansen, because anytime he did anything, the crowd went crazy. And anytime he got called for a foul or anything like that, they went crazy. So it's good for the league. It's amazing. I love it. I will say this. I have a few players that whenever the comp is this name, it immediately makes me nervous. And Nikola Jokic is one of those. Omari.
And that's the thing. Like, you can say shit. Like it's other bigs that pass.
No, that's true.
Like,
that's true. I also I guess my quick victory lap on Yang would be that I actually had him as a first round pick in me and Sam's early, like too early 2025 mock, like in August or whatever you do it before any real basketball has been played, I actually had him as a first round pick. Now, the downside is then I slowly moved him down throughout the year, and he was a hard eval because that league is just so bad that he was playing. I will say this, like, from a true critique standpoint, the passing was awesome, but then you have to run the offense through him if it's going to be a major plus. I'm a little interested to see what the scoring overall looks like. And I didn't think he looked good defensively. Like, there was one time he got completely turned around, and like it wasn't, that is going to be a struggle, but he is a young big in the NBA. There's a lot of young bigs in the NBA that struggle with their defense. So, he is a fun player, if nothing else. I'll throw out some other names at you, see if you were able to watch them or what you thought. Kyle Filipowski had a big game. Kobe Buffkin, Reed Shepherd apparently just lit up Cox Pavilion while the Blazers game was going on. Casper finally had a good game. Any of those guys, Liam McNeely, I think had a really good, I didn't get to see that Hornets game, but I saw Trey Johnson, like any of those names, anybody like that stand out that you've seen or heard people talking about?
Yeah, Kobe Buffkin is a guy. I really like that pick for Atlanta, and he's a guy that could have a really great opportunity just because it seems like they never have a decent backup point guard behind Trae Young. Yeah, I like Kobe Buffkin's game. I saw like a little bit of it. He was definitely a guy that stood out. Like, y'all know how much I liked Reed Shepherd coming out of that draft. And, he was just drafted by a team that couldn't really give him opportunity. But like, I think he's a bona fide rotation guy. Like, I don't know if he's a starter, but it's not shocking at all that he came in and just absolutely lit the gym up. Cause I mean, his shooting numbers in college were absurd. Those guys definitely stood out. And then Kyle Filipowski's a fun player too. Like, just his offensive bag. Another guy that you would expect to come in the summer league and just dominate just because of how skilled he is. But I think he's going to be a good NBA player too. So.
RK says Knippel's going to be fine, but he looked really small and slow, in my opinion. I heard Knippel struggled and looked like he really needed a primary creator. My guy Kurt said, can't wait to see Berenger play tonight. Young Gobert 2.0 question mark. I think that's the idea for Minnesota. I thought Jan Berenger looked really good in his first game. I'm excited to watch him play tonight as well. That Timberwolves squad is nice because they got like Terrence Shannon Jr., Jalen Clark playing. Those guys were playing in the playoffs last year.
I didn't realize Terrence Shannon is on that.
Yeah,
that roster.
We'll see if they play today or not. Yeah. But yeah, they started Dillingham, who's a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon Jr., who were playing like some real rotation minutes for that team in the West last year. Leonard Miller, who's a former, big time name in the draft space. And then Berenger. It's a really interesting team in terms of that starting lineup and who they can put out there. Again, they play the Nuggets tonight. I want to give a quick shout out to my guy, Deron Holmes II, who came back from his Achilles injury last summer league and had a really nice performance in their opening game. They lost on a game-winning shot actually in that game, but they play Minnesota tonight. So that'll be a really fun one. That's probably the last game I'll stay around for today. Anything else, guys? Throw it in the chat real quick. We're about to get out of here. Like I said, we got to get on with our day, get lunch, get to the arena. We addressed this at the top, but Mr. Ray said, question, how was the meal O2 bought you, Bryce? We went to Cabo Wabo, just like right on the corner next to Paris and Bellagio and Planet Hollywood. Really, really good food. It was a really good meal. But we've also had some other meals that we probably would say are a little bit better. So I don't know. You got anything else, O2, before we let them go today?
Nope. Just nothing else except I just love Summer League and I love being in the gym. And I'm looking forward to hopefully catching Cooper Flagg. And they're saying Dylan Harper might play. Like, that's like in an hour or so.
Yep.
That's a big one.
I had heard that he wasn't going to play. And then this morning on the treadmill, it was showing up on ESPN. I assume, I don't always trust ESPN's analysis, but I assume they're reporting, that they would know whether he was going to play or not. So, it'll be fun to go watch that. Thank you guys. I know this was a little bit different, especially for those of you that are live. I know it was in one ear and the other ear and we were on different sides and all of that. We love coming to you from Vegas. We enjoy this, getting to record in person. person. It's such a different dynamic than what we're used to, even for us. Sometimes I don't know where to look. Like if you guys see me staring off, it's because there's this beautiful view of the mountains in the background out the window.
I've also stared out the window.
It's like right here is like there's a castle, there's a roller coaster, there's Park MGM,
That's and then
there's a beautiful mountain range, you know, planes taking off, all of that. So there will not be game theory today, at least not from me. That'll probably be a couple days. I travel back home tomorrow. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much. Please hit the like button on your way out, share, subscribe. If you're listening after the fact, same thing on Apple, Spotify. We appreciate you guys a lot. And yeah, take it away, O2.
Absolutely. Big thanks to our audio producer, Robin Chan, our editor-in-chief, Nicole Avery Nichols, and then big shout out to Wes Davenport, as always. And we'll talk to you all next week.